What's up, Real World Yaks? This is George just getting done with his first official Legends session. Uh, yeah, it was awesome. Saiyans are everything. I forgot how much fun they are to play. It's been a while since I played a move fast, hit hard character, and I think I can move fast and hit hard. So I actually didn't get to play like a current session. What I did was my first session was kind of like a highlight reel of my history, played out still. Like it wasn't like the DM just saying this is what happens and this is how it happens. It's like he would jump around through different times to play them out. And and I'll just jump right into it as far as what happened is. The first thing that happened was my mom and my mom's like the blacksmith of the family. Like that's where I get like the ether magic from. We're crafting this sword as like a ceremonial thing for this dude who had lost his like 6 wives in an attack, and it was like a special thing where we imparted this using ether magic that he like these like wrist what do I want to call them, like a not a bandage, what's it called, like a bracelet. And so it's like each of these wives had this bracelets he gave to him. So we basically infused our ether magic so that like when he holds the sword like as a ceremonial type weapon, it's like they bring back pleasant memories, like almost even a dream state of like his wives. So it was a kind of a cool thing. Like it kind of like hashed out ether magic, the effects, like because we used mind magic specifically with that. I don't have mind magic, but like my mom knew how to use it, or through experimentation we both figured out how to use it to basically make this weapon that did this. It was a very benign weapon in the sense where like it didn't like do something to boost your power, but like it's like it was kind of were the Saiyan's lord name was Vectivus, I think, and it's like we're uh, the blood of Makoto, and I think I forget what. I don't know if it's like the blood of Vectivus or whatever it is. Like we're both pretty high-ranking households within the Mystic Saiyan Empire, so it's like it was kind of like a gift from one. I don't want to say royal family because we're not like that high up, but like we're. I think I described it in one of my other videos where it's like if uh, like you have like the like Game of Thrones, which Sean hates, but too bad. Is like the Lannisters, the Starks, and everything like that are the big houses. My family's house is like the Karstarks. They're not like one of the major houses, but like they're kind of under them. Um, and we've got like some SS4s at the top of our household, so like we're pretty high up there. We don't have any SS5s, I don't think, but they're pretty rare. There's only like 10 of those apparently. But yeah, we've got some SS4s, so we got some powerhouses. Uh, anyway, like that was the whole concept of this sword, and my mom basically said that I think she was like it was kind of implied that she was a bit jealous of my skill when it came to crafting, and that like I was potentially surpassing her, not in the ways of experience like necessarily, because she's just been doing it longer. Like you're not gonna be better at that, but like she could see where she was at my age, and that I was likely going to surpass her. And there was a bit of jealousy, but there was also a lot of love there. So like it wasn't like a negative experience. But she begrudgingly allowed, not begrudgingly, like she lovingly but begrudgingly allowed me to present the sword to the head of this house and claim it as my own work with her assistance. And that's like I said, it's not like it was. That's not true because like it was very much our work together. And we had worked on projects before, and she had basically been the one to hand over like a weapon or like a contract to someone with her name on, just because I was younger, which like that makes sense. So it was like it was a big honor. It was kind of like one of those big moments in your life. And what made it work, what made it better slash worse is, as I'm going to deliver the sword, I got attacked by who will later and from this moment become my rival. There's this dude named Kato who's like the blood of Sin, and he's part of this house, I think, that has like a thieves guild and an assassins guild and everything like that. So he's kind of like one of those shady characters. And man, we got it in. 16-year-old me wasn't Super Saiyan yet. Didn't have any of my cool key powers. Didn't have any of my mystic abilities. So like I'm just like fresh off the Saiyan boat. Like I can power up and fire blast. But my blasts are actually pretty everything. I come to find out, like, I'm not much of a fighter. Like, my physical stats, like, I can box as well as any other Saiyan can. I might be like average or a bit below average, but my ki blasts are on point, to the point where I was causing avalanches in this fight by firing off blasts. So we get it in pretty well. He's definitely, I think, he's definitely a little bit better combat oriented than I was, because, like I said, up until this point, I think I was more in the forge with my mom as opposed to practicing the Saiyan move fast, hit hard stuff. But we still get it in, and we go blow for blow, and it was a pretty crazy intense fight. Like, I managed to, I don't want to say outsmart him, but like we were definitely on par. Like, I definitely got the upper hand of him a couple times, but he had mystic abilities already. Like, I think he had creation magic, where he was able to, through like alchemy, manipulate metal, and he used it like Gara did with his sand. But I blasted the heck out of him, and I had him like in the bed in the rocks, and almost buried him in an avalanche from one of my blasts that blew up like the part of this mountainside. So yeah, like, Saiyans are everything. Like, this is 16-year-old Saiyan me, who's not even a Saiyan, who can blast mountains, and not obliterate mountains, but like cause landslide stuff from the force of a blast and explosions. It was awesome. So at the very end, like, we basically exhaust each other. I get back up, and like, I basically keep gritting through, because he says he's taking the sword. Like, that's the reason he ambushes me. And I later find out that it's like part of his initiation into this whole thieves guild. It's like that. I don't know if they asked for this thing specifically, or he's had to go do something, but whatever it was, his mission is to take the sword. And through gritted teeth, I tell him that he's not getting this sword. And why don't I just unsheath the sword and try to hack him apart? Well, the DM informed me that'd be pretty much bad form for this. So that was kind of a last resort thing, to actually pull out the sword and kill him. Or I don't even know if I could kill him. Like I said, he's probably better martially than I am. But it was not something I wanted to do. I wanted to protect the sword. What's it called? We go back and forth. Like I said, he manages to like get the upper hand on me, but I had been building up this blast, so I just detonated it in front of both of us and kind of blew us both off, injuring both of us pretty good. Cause like I said, he wasn't getting that sword. Like, I was 100% firm on that. And he was very firm on taking the sword. So I started to get back up. He started to get back up, and we wrestled around a bit, and I managed to sneak another blast in. Like, I was powering up a blast in my left hand, and he managed to get a hold of my left hand. He's wrestling it away and everything like that, and trying to point it upwards so I could fire off the blast. And then I just shoot like I had like my other hand, and I just, like, you know, it was kind of messed up from the blast that I basically detonated in front of us. But it was kind of, think of like, I don't know if any of you guys have seen My Hero Academia like that, where, like, you know, he uses All Might's All for One or One for All thing, and like blows out his arm or something like that. I don't think it was quite that bad, but like, yeah, like, my arm was messed up, but I fired a blast through him and blasted him off and embedded him in some rock somewhere, and so it's like we're both crippled at this point, like, completely. But I'm like, you're not getting the sword, so I'm like climbing up to my feet, getting ready to like charge up another blast, the last of my energy, to blast this dude. And he starts throwing rocks at me, and the DM says, like, just so we're clear, the force of these rocks would go like through a shotgun blast through a human, and like, they hurt you, but like, they're not, like, they're small rocks. But like, it's kind of like, it kind of reaffirmed for me like where Saiyans kind of stand on the thing. It's like, oh no, like, the Saiyans, you know, like, if and I think it was like one of the first episodes of DBZ where, like, who is it, Raditz, I think, maybe, he gets a shotgun fired at him, and the way he grabs the shotgun blast is he comes around from behind it and scoops it forward to catch all the pellets. And it's like, yeah, if a 16-year-old Saiyan is like chucking rocks, it would go at someone through a shotgun, that they would fly through a normal human like a shotgun blast. Like, yeah, Saiyans are still pretty awesome. That was a cool, like, comparison that was made. This is gonna be a long recap, so if you're this far along, buckle up, because this is only the first thing that happened. The other stuff might go a little quicker. So yeah, I managed to shield myself well enough like kind of basically like burrowing my head into my shoulder and making my profile small. That he's like throwing these rocks at me, hitting some and missing some. They sting, but they're not enough, and he's like kind of like that collapse thing. So I fire the other blast, and he has this extendo pull type staff, and he managed to launch himself out of the way, and that's when like even like this like weaker blast caused another avalanche, because it was like I basically put my all into it, and at this point we're both like completely spent. Like he used everything he had to like avoid that blast, and I used everything I had putting it into that blast. But like I said, I feel like despite the fact that he knocked me around a couple times and everything like that, like I think I got him better because like he was scorched and messed up, and I mean I was scorched. He shattered my nose and messed my face up with a nasty elbow. But yeah, so we're both kind of laying there, and I start to climb up to my feet, and he's just like really, really, and I managed to push it through. So I finally pull out the sword. I was like, "You want this sword? I'll give it to you." And he extendo pulls up to his feet, and like I'm getting ready to stab him upwards, which is like this is the worst thing I could do because it's gonna like defile the memory of this poor old man's 6 dead wives, like murder someone with this supposedly ceremonial sword. And he thankfully he says it's not worth it. It's not even worth it. And he manages to hobble off, and I manage to not skewer him with the sword. And I deliver the sword to the person. I leave out the fact, I basically tell him that I was attacked, and defended it with my life. But I never tell him that I actually unsheathed the sword to potentially kill this person with. Thankfully, it didn't come to that. And yeah, I was like, yeah, that's saying like customer service for you. It's like, yeah, you ordered for something from me. I'll defend it with my life. I'll put it on the line so that you get your like UPS to the next level there. Yeah, so that was like the first memory that played out. Yeah. So that was the first part. We fast forward to 2 years. Kato becomes my rival of sorts, where he is like more on the thieving side. I'm more of like the smithing. Like neither one of us are like I think like the upfront warriors, but like Kato is not like the stealthy like kind of thief. Like he's like I'll blow up a mountain, and if you like if I get my thing in the process, that's great. Like he's a Saiyan thief, which I thought was hilarious. Or at this family dinner with I have a brother and a sister, Daquan and Mira, and they're both older than me. Daquan is the oldest, and he's kind of like my dad's right hand man. But like, there's a lot of family stress that goes on there because like I guess my dad being this very important dude, like this is like kind of the head of not just the head of the house, but like the head of a lot more. Like I said, like the comparison of the Karstarks and everything like that. Like there's still a certain political significance to it, and a lot of stuff that he has to deal with a lot of people under him. So he's very busy. I think I'm 18 at the time. I think Mira is like 19 and a half, and I think there's like 2 years separating each of the kids. I have that information on another sheet, but I'm not going to look it up right now. But anyway, there's a bit of information separating us all, and I'm at the cusp of going Super Saiyan. And if I do it, I will be the youngest of my father's 3 kids to do it. But I've definitely hit a wall, and I've been like stuck at this wall for some time, at least 2 or 3 months now. And it's one of those ones where everyone kind of has their own little advice to go with it because I'm in a family that has Super Saiyans in it. So like, it's like kind of one of those things where like in BBZ, where once Goku figured out how to go Super Saiyan, a lot of other people figured out how to go Super Saiyan earlier and easier because you have that knowledge point. But yeah, like one of my uncle, which I'll talk about later, Uncle Toshiro is freaking everything. But like as an SS4, like that's just a scary level of power. So we're sitting down for the family. Mira's kind of like the black sheep of the family. She went off to like this ninja temple to train, and they train like in non-traditional Saiyan way, like non-traditional ways. Like Saiyans usually have a very traditional way of, I guess, training and powering up and stuff like that. And like this temple that she trains at is, I come to find out, like they use different methods, and I got a taste of one of them that allowed me to hit Super Saiyan for the first time when I was 18. So I was like, that was pretty awesome. But it's like something called like sympathetic empowerment, I think it was, or empathetic empowerment. And what it was is we used ether magic again, and she made a talisman out of this dagger that I had made and Kato had stolen from me over time. It wasn't the sword that he stole. It wasn't the sword that he failed to steal, but it was something that he had taken from me. And what it did was, like, it kind of gave me a image or a projection of him when he eventually goes Super Saiyan, but it's not sure what the time is. And it gave him apparently the same image of me finally hitting Super Saiyan. And it's like there was something mystical about it that allowed both of us to push our limits and finally hit that Super Saiyan level to kind of break through the final gap that we were needed. Because, and like I said, it could have been one of those things too, where it's like we had other people that went Super Saiyan in our family. Like my older brother was Super Saiyan at that point. Oh, that was something I forgot. Like Mira kind of crashed the dinner, and she showed up as a Super Saiyan. She had been, I guess, for about a year, which I still think that makes me the youngest by a little bit because I think we're separated by 2 years, or like a year and a half. So it's like I still managed to be here, which I was like, little point of pride there. And even if the DM says like, oh no, you're only a year older player, and she actually hit it about the same time you did. No, I'm still saying it's like a day or so earlier. So Mira had crashed the dinner, announced that she had ascended, and she basically came there because she heard I was struggling. She kind of, I don't want to say left the family, but like she's kind of like on the outs with a lot of people. Like definitely stressed with my dad. Even my mom is still stressed out. Like she's saying that my mom, I think she was saying that she basically up and vanished without a trace and had no contact and was kind of sour about that. Anyway, Mira helped me, and it turns out that both of us, Kato and I, both were able to hit Super Saiyan through this, but we're not sure who did it first, and it's still an arguing point to this day. We have I don't want to say a friendly rivalry. It's not necessarily a all-out friendly rivalry, but it's a rivalry that's not steeped in complete bitterness. I basically, the running joke for the night was, from me to the DM was, listen, no matter where this guy gets in his station for life, I'm going to remind him that the first time he tried to step up to me is he failed to get the sword. He failed to take it. So it's like I still always hold that over him. But yeah, it's like it's not necessarily this all out like I wish this guy dead kind of thing. Like we make each other better in that regard. Like we push each other, and like the fact that we hit Super Saiyan together, I think it's still something that we argue about who hit it first, because we had no way to really tell like if it was a vision or if it was happening at the same time or what it was. But it was like there was something mystically involved with it. But it's a point of contention. It's like I said, partially good natured, partially competitive. So that was that kind of story arc. I think I will get these a little faster than I thought. Like that first one just took a while. That was the second story arc of me hitting Super Saiyan. The third story arc was 2 years later, so I'm 20 years old at this point. I have my own smithing shop, like separate from my family. It's like my mother is not part of the big corporation she once was, but even then, like she does like higher profile military contracts and stuff for like specialized weapons and armor and things like that. Whereas I'm just kind of starting out. Like I've only been at it for a couple weeks or a couple months or something, and my father has kind of cut tie. Like our family's pretty wealthy within like the Saiyan community, within our Saiyan community, just because of like our status and everything like that. But like my father feels like I should be more following in his footsteps of like the pure warrior path as opposed to like the entrepreneurial path of smithing. But it's like he's got what's his name, my oldest brother. For that, my oldest brother obviously has some issues with that as well. Like he can't be his own person. He basically has to like play number two to my dad, and it's a point of contention in my family. So anyway, I've got my own little business starting up, and a customer walks in the shop, and he's all like mysterious and everything like that. And it turns out it's my Uncle Tosh, or my Uncle Toshiro, who is like one of the tribe lead brothers. Like he's like one of those everything that people I talked about. And I told the DM I add him in my speed dial right away. That way, if anyone calls to start something, he's going to be on my first dial, like Uncle Tosh, because we have a bit of a special bond because we both eventually become avatars of an elder, which I'll get into here shortly. But like we've always been kind of close. Like I don't know if he sees a lot if he sees something in me that he saw in himself or what. But like he doesn't have any kids of his own. But I'm kind of, I guess, like a son to him, sort of. Maybe not even that dramatic, but like we're close as far as like an uncle goes. So he says that against his wishes, he's able to help me with the what's that magic called? I'm gonna look this one up. Oh, Constitution magic, specifically tying yourself to an elder. He says he's going to help me with it, but it's begrudgingly so. There's something that's going on with my uncle where he was basically this like insanely powerful person, who was basically he's the person in my family who has this kind of Constitution magic. Now, Constitution magic covers anything physical, but like at the very top of that kind of magic is like you can bind yourself to one of these elder beings and channel their power in exchange for some stuff, which I'll get into here. So he says that he'll help me out with it, and I'm like, awesome. But like I asked for some details first, but he doesn't give me that much. I asked him, as the youngest brother, what was he like? You know, when did he finally first ascend? And I come to find out, like, I'm actually, like, I was decently young. Like, I don't know if I was not the like most powerful in our family or anything like that, but like out of the three of us, I think I was the first. And then even like he said, like whenever he was my age, I was further along than him. So I was like, yeah, I hit him. I didn't hit him though. So he powers up, and man, you get to experience what a Super Saiyan 4 is all about. And this is a Super Saiyan 4, I think like 6 years ago. So like he's been getting it in for 6 years after this. So he's one of those people that powers up. When they power up, they change the environment. Like the sky blackens, a storm starts, the earth, the planet rumbles, that kind of thing. Like he's one of those people. When they power up, and this wasn't like a buckle down and grit it out kind of power up. Like no, this was just a quick power up to get himself to a higher level. For what I come to find out is interplanetary travel. He's going to take me off-world to this moon where this temple is. And it's not just like it's the next planet over, it's several planets over. And it takes about 20 minutes. So I don't know like the scale of this system or anything like that, but imagine traveling from not just one planet, but across several planets to get to a moon through space and taking 20 minutes. And imagine how fast you'd have to go. He gave me this injection, something like one of our like it's probably an ether thing that allows you to survive in space for a limited time. So I could survive with him and probably survive the speed that he was moving as well. But yeah, so he basically takes me to this other planet insanely fast. Like it's like one of those ones where you could, and it became very apparent that atmospherically, like that's a big limiting factor to how fast people can move. Like the speed we moved in atmosphere was nothing compared to whenever we got out into like the deepness of space. But yeah, like having a character like, and like I said again, I know like people like Nexus or SF5 level, and that might be something trivial to them, but like being able to travel on an interplanetary level that fast under your own power is pretty amazing. Especially given like, and like I said, maybe Generations is a little bit more toned down, like power wise, but like, well again, like I guess Zeratul could do that, but like I don't think he could describe space. But anyway, like I'm not gonna try to ramble on that too much. It was just to me it was an impressive feat that he was able to do this. We get to the temple, and I come to find out that Toshiro has kind of turned his back on the Elder. I don't know if they asked too much of him. I don't know if it was something that they asked that he didn't like, or whatever it was. But there was a lot of info he kind of left out for me when we're in the middle of this ceremony. So the goddess of speed is called the Harlequin, and she is someone who apparently, not even a goddess, she's an elder. Like she's an elder being, I guess is what they're gonna. So I don't know if anyone knows anything about the Harlequin, who she once was before she was an elder, or if like anyone had that alias and then like became an everything character or whatever. Anyway, she has like a Gemini type mask on, and it's like kind of like I see a Zordon type figure, like with like the steam and the mist, and there's these other avatars that are like kind of zipping around me, and like asking if I'm worthy to carry her voice and everything like that. And like I said, my uncle kind of really screwed me over here in this regard. Like he didn't really prep me very much for what I was getting into. I was like, oh, I was thinking maybe I'll get a little like, okay, this is what you're gonna be expecting in here. Like you got to bow to do this. Like no, it was nothing like that. It's like all he said is like I found a worthy candidate to be an avatar of the Harlequin. And I was like, yeah, I'm worthy. Like I'm freaking Saiyan pride, man. Like there's no like, am I worthy? Like no, I'm a Saiyan. Like I'm worthy. So I went in with confidence, which was funny because like that's very much like not my last couple characters in Real World. It's good to play something a little different, go out there and hit some people. That going back to that fight that I had with what's his name? I forget his name already. It's late. Kato. Man, we got it in. Like that was like a knockdown, drag out. You know, I'm sad no one was around to hear it or anything like that. But it was a heck of a fight. Bloody knuckles, bloody faces, scorched up from blast, all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, in that regard, like I'm very much a say it. Uh, anyway, like there's this ceremony that happens, and the other avatars kind of like rush through me, like kind of like almost flash looking things, like they've got this gold lightning, and I wake up and it turns out like whatever it is, like the thing is completed. Uh, the ritual is completed. Now here's the crazy part. Uh, my uncle is insanely fast, and becoming an avatar of one of these elders means two things. One, you can channel their power, and two, from time to time, they will ask something of you. Uh, the Harlequin, she will ask you to be a messenger. Now, I don't know what that entails. I don't know if that's like me delivering a letter to someone or being like the messenger of death to this planet. Who knows? I joked about the death thing, but I don't know if that's part of it. But like it's like I guess like the avatar of speed is also the messenger god, or like so like that's what's expected of me. So like whether I become like not like the herald from Generations, but like a herald of like if my message is to destroy this place, or if my message is, hey, here's a letter from so and so that's really important. Like I'm assuming that there will be times I have to drop what I'm doing to do something for this person, which like I'm okay with. Like that's something I kind of assume with it. But like I said, it was something I was looking to kind of like bridge that gap of power between people. Like if you want to move fast and hit hard, you want to be able to really move fast. And like this was the biggest bump I could get, I think, as far as like starting out goes. Like this high level Constitution magic spell. Um, so yeah, like that was kind of that. That was where we went on pause. There was a lot of questions I had after that. Like, anyway, so the other thing I wanted to mention, the other thing I was going to mention that I started to mention was I got this basically this mystically based tattoo. It's not even a tattoo. It's kind of like a marking, but it's like not like a seared into flesh kind of thing. It's closer to a tattoo than a brand, I guess is the best way to put it. Of the Harlequin mask, and it's over my heart, which is where it was on my uncle. My uncle, his body is covered with these different markings, which I'm assuming are from different elders, and he keeps them covered to kind of like keep as kind of a statement that he's turned his back on them. And I don't know why he's turned his back on them, or what they did, or why why he's done it. Which I talked to the DM afterwards. It's like that's something I'm going to be very curious about. So that we'll hit that. We'll see if we can get that information some next time. The other big thing I'm curious about is what are the other elders that you can potentially channel. And I talked to the DM a little bit about this before, and he basically said like the thing with channeling elders is like there's a whole different thing that comes with it. Like there's some like the other, some like one but not another. They'll ask things of you, so it's like if you bind yourself to too many, you might get asked too much. Like you're constantly on call, and it's like you never get to do anything yourself. So it's like there's a flip side to all that. Like you can't just like, okay, let me just sign up for every elder's newsletter and get some power out of it. Like it's not that simple. But apparently, like my uncle was at some point or another bound to a lot of them, and it's apparently very difficult to get out. He also said that if you're not careful, like the bond can kind of consume you, and you become like those speed spirits that I saw in the temple room that I didn't describe well in this recap, but they were the rest of the thing, like with the Flash, you see like the things of cold lightning running around. Like I guess they were former avatars of Speed, and like they somehow, I don't know if they used the power too much, and they basically became like one with the Speed Force or whatever, like that, whatever the Legends equivalent of that is. But like he hinted that there's something where if you either use it without understanding it or you use it too much, that that it can have some bad things. But he's still around, and he assured me that he was going to teach me how to use it without that happening, or like together we're going to figure out a way to keep that from happening. So that was awesome, and because my uncle was everything, I believe him. That was where we left off. That was pretty much my session. Yeah, it was awesome. There was combat in the first thing. Like, even if it was a pass out memory, I think my character is 26, so like I still have 6 more years before I reach it to where I am currently. And I don't know if it's like, something happens every 2 years or maybe not. But like, I think I'm still missing. So at that point, like I had hit Super Saiyan 1. I learned I guess I was already pretty decent with ether magics. I learned my key techniques by that point, like, which is like all my defensive matrix and all the other crazy stuff I can do. And I think the only thing I was missing was my Mystic Tattoo that lets me do Kaioken type stuff. And there might have been like one other thing. Oh, like I think there's a couple things with my ether magic where I can contact elders, like the elders for aid in creating items. That's the other thing I think I'm missing. So maybe we'll get to that next session. But yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. I can see why the game was voted best game for a while, and we'll have to see about getting it back there, because man, it was awesome. It's hard to compare the two between the current best game and the former best game, but man, like people weren't sleeping when they talked up Legends as far as being an awesome game. Not the awesome game, but like an awesome game. It's one of those ones where you hear about it and you hear people's praises, and I'm not saying, I'm assuming people were talking it up more so than it deserved, but I can say safely that it deserved every bit that it was talked up and then some, because I had a blast with it, and I look forward to playing again. Alright, who knows how long this is going to be. Hopefully you guys made it through it.